Split, directed by M.Night Shyamalan. It's a psychological horror film, and the basic plot is three girls are kidnapped by a man who's diagnosed with having 23 distinct personalities. And these girls try to escape this man before the apparent emergence of a very frightful new 24th personality arrives. And that is referred to as being the Beast. This is a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to give anything away, do not worry. Also, apologies for this very late review. I wrote this review up, I wrote my notes up for this review a few weeks back. Again, it's just been really hard to get around to actually sitting down and doing the video, but I've got a week off now and I've got loads of videos planned. This being my first video, my review of Split. And I really want to start off with saying one word about Split. Wow. I love this film, and I've been dying to talk about this film. I was about halfway through the movie, and I remember thinking to myself, yeah, M. Night Shyamalan is back. So we got James McAvoy, and he's playing a Kevin Wendell Crumb. And he's someone who suffers with this identity disorder, and he has these 23 prominent personalities. Now we get to see a few of these different personalities throughout the film, and this leads me into my first big praise for this movie. James McAvoy is absolutely amazing in this film. I loved his performance. I felt he did a really good job, a great job in fact, in bringing all these different personalities to life. And he also managed to inject a little bit of humour into some of these roles, which I really liked. And it did make me chuckle in certain parts. And, you know, though this is more dark humour, and he really did just blow me away. We also have an Anya Taylor-Joy as Casey Cook, a young girl with a traumatic past and a history of self-harm, and she's one of these three girls that's kidnapped by Dennis. Now, Dennis happens to be one of Kevin's personalities. Casey Cook is one of the three girls, and eventually they are to be sacrificed to this beast that he keeps mentioning and bringing up. And the girl that plays Casey Cook, you might know her from The Witch or Morgan. And I really liked her in both those films, and I really liked her again in Split. I thought she gave a really good performance, a very good and a grounded performance, and I loved her eyes. Her eyes, for me, said a lot. You didn't need, even though you had sort of flashbacks to her past, you didn't really need her to say too much or say a lot to really understand the sort of pain she was going through, because this was all told through her performance. This all came through her performance, and I felt that was helped by a very well written and tight script by M. Night Shyamalan. This was a very well written movie. Now, I found myself experiencing different emotions while watching this film. Emotions that I didn't expect myself to feel. Those being fear, funny, sad, grossed out, creeped out. And it was an amazing blend of all those emotions. And I'd say this turns out to be quite an effective horror movie. This was actually a very sort of, even though it's a psychological horror movie, it was a very, very effective horror movie without it being too obvious a horror movie, if you get me. And it's, in a way, it sort of reminded me of an Alfred Hitchcock movie. There was a moment in the third act, and I'm not going to say too much because this is a spoiler free. I am actually thinking about doing a spoiler review for this. If you guys are interested and would like to see a spoiler review from me for Split, let me know below in the comments. But there's a moment in the third act, and the way it was shot, it was very, very creepy. Very creepy, and I can't talk too much about it. It's killing me. But the entire way the film is shot, I loved how M. Night Shyamalan directed this film. I love how he directs all his films, but this film, especially the third act, the way the film was shot, it was very, very creepy in moments. I just loved it, and there were moments which sort of reminded me of Alien slightly. And I love the lighting as well, especially more in the third act. I really sort of like the colours they went for. But what I like about the way M. Night Shyamalan shot the film, now this is going to lead me into something. This is going to lead me slightly into the twist. But don't worry, I'm not going to give the twist away. But the way the film was shot, I just love how you get these single shots that just focus in on these characters and the scenes, that's occurring, the events, and I just love how he focuses in, right, and you get to see these human, the characters' emotions and what's going on, and you just absorb it all in because of the way he shoots the film. It's just like you get very, very few shots, and I love that. I love how he just focuses in on this one particular scene or one particular shot, and I think he does it really well in this. And the way this film was shot sort of give away the twist. Now, for those that have seen this film, you might know, or what the twist is. And I was sitting there thinking, I keep in mind when I went in to see this film, I didn't know what the twist was going to be at the end. And when I was sitting there watching the film and how the sort of film kind of built up, and how you get to see this character, James McAvoy's character, he's sort of. And you get to see James McAvoy's character evolving throughout the film, and that, along with how the way the film was shot and everything, it just reminded me of something. And I thought, do you know what? That could be possible. Now, look, I'm not going to tell you because it'll be I'd be spoiling it. But I had an inkling that the reveal, what was going to be the reveal, which I was actually right. So in a way, that leads me to a minor gripe with this film. And that is, it was slightly predictable. Not just the twist, but there were a few things. The way the film sort of panned out was a little bit predictable. But that is literally one of my only minor gripes with the film. So basically, because of the way the film was shot, along with how these characters are built during the film, that to me it made me sort of think, oh, I think I might know where this is going, or I think I might know, what this is really all about. And so I was a little bit, after the film, when that twist, my mouth was open, like that. Oh, that twist was so incredible. I had one of the biggest, geekiest smiles on my face. I couldn't believe it. And, but then at the same time, I was like, in a way, I could see it coming. But when I was watching the film, I predicted the moment, the twist, to actually come a little bit earlier, and it didn't. And I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad they did what they did with that twist and where it was in the film. When I was watching the film and I was watching these events play out, I was sort of guessing that something was going to happen. This twist was going to happen a little bit earlier, and I'm glad they didn't, because I think it could have been cheesy and just really sort of derailed the film a little bit. Again, I can't really talk too much about this, but I really do hope to do a spoiler review about it. But back to the lighting. I just want to quickly mention the lighting again. I love the lighting in the film. It really stood out to me. And again, especially in the third act, where you get more of these sort of orangey, green, red colours. And, this is all when it's during, McAvoy's character is just getting sort of more and more deeper into these sort of personalities. And, it's building up to this 24th personality, the Beast. And to me, it came across almost as if these colours were representing, the downfall, these characters' downfall into the pit of hell. And that's what it became like to me at the end of the film. You were in hell, and I liked it. I mean, this was all told through the McAvoy's performance, the performance from the rest of the cast, as well as the direction and the lighting. And I thought it was done very sort of masterful, very elegantly done by M. Night Shyamalan. Split is one of those movies that I like to call a roller coaster ride. And that's because you get this very slow, gradual build-up. You get, some insight into both characters, that being McAvoy's Kevin and Anya Taylor-Joy's Casey. And both characters have issues with a troubled past. And the tension just keeps building. And this tension is created partly down to M. Night Shyamalan's elegant directing and McAvoy's beautiful beautiful performance. And then you get the grand final The third act and the big massive twist which you should come to expect now with an M. Night Shyamalan film. But boy, this film had me on the edge of my seat right from right from the beginning, right from when these three girls are kidnapped and they're held captive by Kevin. And you get, when you get these glimpses of his different personalities, and then when this third act arrives and you get to meet the 24th personality, the Beast, and the only words I could describe are tense and horror, and they're the two words that spring to my mind, and I loved it. But it's the third act in this movie that does sort of go into a more of a supernatural fantasy genre. So the genre of this film, if you go in thinking it's a certain genre, this film does sort of evolve, you could say, itself into a sort of different genre, like the main character in a way. And I think it will put some people off at first, or just take people out of the movie when this third act does happen, and when you get the events in this third act. I think it will take people off, and it will take people out of the film, and it will put some certain people off. But for me, I was just so invested into these characters and story that the transition from the second to the third act felt very seamless and natural to me. I went along with the ride, and even though I did recognize that I was getting more that it was getting more detached from reality, the story was slightly getting more detached from reality. But it's during the second act and into the third that I started speculating. And now I can't tell you what those speculations were, but that I did have. But as I would be spoiling the movie, and I will talk more about those in my spoiler-filled review. And as I previously mentioned, I figured the twist out before the twist happened, but it still floored me. That twist still floored me, and I had this massive geeky grin on my face, and I loved it. Now, the twist happened a lot later in the third act than I expected it, but it was still perfect. But yeah, for those that get a little taken out of the movie during that third act, just ride it out. Trust me. Because then all the pieces just fit together in that twist, and then the entire film will make perfect sense. And it did for me, and it made me, as a result, want to see the film again, because then it was like, right, now you get the film with that last sort of puzzle, that last missing piece right at the end. Like I said, a lot of people will, as the film progresses and these characters sort of progress, and the main, McAvoy's character evolves throughout the film, it does take on this more of a supernatural aspect. And I think, as I've seen in previous reviews, a lot of people were put off from that and didn't quite get the film, and it just pulled them out. And then when they got that twist, when they witnessed that twist, everyone was like, now I get it. And I was the same. I got it, even though I sort of predicted it. And that's why when you got these events in the third act, it didn't take me out at all. In fact, I did actually really go with it, and I actually believed in it slightly. And I think that was all down to these performances and the way, the film was written and shot. We'll just dive straight into the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack by I think it was a West Dylan Thordston. I think that's how you say his name. It had this a very raw sound to the soundtrack, almost like a rough scraping sound. It was almost as if they were in a sort of like a car garage somewhere, and they just got these noises, these scraping noises, and it was like chairs scraping across a floor at times. It was very raw sounding, and it was very unnerving, and it helped add a lot of tension and horror to certain moments and scenes, and I loved it. And I will probably buy the soundtrack to Split on disc. But yeah, I absolutely loved Split. I'm a massive fan of M. Night Shyamalan, and it's good to see him back on form. This is probably M. Night Shyamalan's best movie since Signs. Again, I absolutely loved Signs. I did actually really like The Visit as well, but this for me was the first film since Signs, and it made me feel, like I said previously, when I was watching it, it was like, yeah, M. Night Shyamalan is back. So my only really minor gripe is the fact that this film was a little bit predictable. For me, anyway. Even though the twist still floored me at the end, I absolutely loved almost every single thing about this film. I thought it was a very well written film. I will be giving Split an A. Thank you again for watching. I really do appreciate it. Would you guys like to see a spoiler-filled review of Split from me? Let me know below. I am really seriously considering doing one, so I just could talk about this film more, because I'd love to talk more about this film. I do have plans for a Rogue One spoiler-filled review. That's coming up this week again, hopefully. I've just come back from a viewing of Rogue One it's my third viewing, and yeah, I'm going to start writing notes down for a spoiler-filled review of that, and I've got a lot of other videos planned for this week. So yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to leave a comment below, and if you like what you see, please hit subscribe and follow me on my journey.